Okay, but what if so-and-so actually debuted in this group instead of so-and-so? This idol actually doesn't fit their group concept at all. That idol actually probably wishes they debuted in another group. Or what if any idol can actually fit any concept because they kind of have to? That is the subject of today's video. Idols not fitting their group's concept or actually fitting their group's concept. What fans think of that? Is it okay to speculate on different group lineups? What if you're forced into a concept that you actually don't like and have to pretend to like it as if that's never happened before? All that on today's episode of K-Pop Cancelled. My name is Angelina. I'm messing up the intro, guys. Let's get into our topic of today. I was actually inspired to do this episode because recently there's been a huge conversation about Yunjin of Le Sserafim. And to be frank, I think this has been a conversation for a while now, based on the fact that she's American and more outspoken. I'm quoting people, okay, this isn't my opinion, but essentially there's a lot of people saying that she must have really wished that she could have debuted in Cat's Eye. She would have fit so much better in Cat's Eye. I mean, she just fits Cat's Eye so much more. Cat's Eye are so free in comparison to K-pop idols. There's also similar conversation surrounding Yunche of Cat's Eye, basically saying, you know, the two should switch places. Yunjin should have debuted in Cat's Eye and Yunche should have debuted in Le Sserafim. They just would have fit better into those respective groups, with Yunche being more reserved and Yunjin being more out there, I guess you could say. Again, not my opinions, I'm just quoting people. And we also have another favorite among icons. Thank God we didn't lose Yunche to K-pop, which is the opposite sentiment of what I've been presenting to you, but like you get the gist, right? People are saying, or implying, I mean, it's not a new conversation. There's always somebody who's going to say, this person doesn't fit into this K-pop group. And like I mentioned, I believe that these sentiments have been shared for a while. I don't know how long, but when Yunjin did a live stream with Cat's Eye's Sophia and Lara not too long ago, the conversation really picked back up again because the live stream was really chaotic. It was really funny. There was an instance where like Lara showed the shirt she was wearing underneath. I guess it was a bra. So she's just like, you know, showing off her bra. And then Yunjin's like, oh my God, me too. And she showed off her sports bra. And I believe Sophia was also showing off her sports bra, which could be considered quite K-pop shocking, I know. There's also an instance where I believe it was Sophia was imitating a move that Yunjin does in Anti-Fragile, I believe, where like, you know, she bends down and kind of rubs her hands on like down her legs, if that makes sense. And Yunjin was saying, you know, oh, I was supposed to do that in the New Jersey concert, but there's a lot of people that I knew, like high school friends and family, so I just didn't do it, which I guess in and of itself isn't super K-pop shocking if that's literally the choreography for Anti-Fragile. But anyways, it was fun, it was funny, it was chaotic. I mean, they were joking around a bunch. Laura said to Yunjin, there's a spider behind you, and like everybody just went silent. And then Yunjin was like, the silence is so loud, Lara. Like, just idols having fun together. It was refreshing. It was fun because I don't think Weverse had this option beforehand. I think it's a new option that now two accounts can go live at the same time. I believe so. You can correct me in the comments if you would like. But again, the amount of fun that they were having led a lot of people to that conversation. Yunjin would have been so much better in Cat's Eye. Yunjin should have debuted in Cat's Eye. She just fits them so much more. And then I guess by extension, Yunche wouldn't fit into Cat's Eye. Yunche would have fit better into Le Sserafim. So on and so forth. I guess the conversation got so heated to the point, not heated, but you get what I mean. Like people, you know, rather than saying, oh, it would be interesting to have seen a different lineup, or, you know, what if Yunjin debuted in Cat's Eye? And it veered more towards Yunjin doesn't like being part of Le Sserafim. Yunjin wishes so badly she could be part of Cat's Eye, to the point that Yunjin actually hit back at netizens on Weverse. And I say netizens and not fans because she herself clarifies, my fans aren't saying this, but people are saying this. This is starting to sound like a news video. I promise it's not. But anyways, so she says, I love Le Sserafim and I love my members and team and fear not more than anything in the world. Some of you guys, in parenthesis, not fear nots, are getting brave saying things like, I don't want to be in my group. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. LMFAO, you guys are so funny. Wow, that was very Cat's eye coded. That was a joke. Oh my gosh. Put down your pitchforks. That was absolutely a joke. But when it comes to the conversation of openness, I feel like cat's eye are always at the center of it because there's no denying that there's a difference between K-pop groups and cat's eye. Cat's eye are a global group created using the K-pop methodology. So they were trained as if they were K-pop idols, but the point would be that they're not K-pop idols, despite the fact that they're totally in K-pop spaces. We've had this conversation 10 million times before. You get the gist, all right? But there's definitely no denying that there are differences. There are so many things that Cat's Eye do that K-pop fans consider K-pop shocking, but to maybe a Western audience, and I mean a Western idol audience, because obviously a lot of K-pop fans are Western audience, if that makes sense. Do you understand the distinction here? I'm not saying Western fans, I'm saying fans of Western artists might not be shocked by any of this stuff. But if you are really into K-pop, you follow K-pop groups very closely, there's a lot of things that, you learn to be shocked about, if that even makes any sense. Dating, revealing clothing, like these are all things that like maybe you're not inherently shocked by, but you're a K-pop stan, and in a K-pop context it might be shocking because you're just not used to hearing about it or seeing it, So for Cat's Eye, they're able to walk around with alleged boyfriends, and it's like, it's all right. Now their K-pop audience is shocked by that. Everyone else is like, okay. They're able to wear quite revealing clothing. Again, their K-pop audience is shocked by that. And I'm not saying K-netizens. I'm not attacking K-netizens here. Like, as a K-pop fan, if I see booty cheeks, I'm shocked by it. Not because I'm personally shocked by it, but because it's not something I see in K-pop ever. Well, I'm like, Lisa just popped into my head, but like, I think there's like a lot of factors. How long a K-pop idol has been in the industry can affect whether or not you're shocked by something, where they wear the outfit, so on and so forth. But anyways, all that to say, like, I'm not trying to be a prude or anything. I don't want to sound like a prude. I'm just pointing out the very realistic differences, the very realistic stylistic differences, because there have been entire scandals related to styling alone. If we think to aespa's Ningning, I remember there was an instance where she was wearing a bra underneath the sheer top, and it was just the fact that it was a bra that gained a lot of backlash. Do you know what I mean? It's not that you could see anything. I mean, she was still wearing like a long sleeve shirt on top of it, but it was just the fact that you could see the outline of her bra that brought on a scandal, and she ended up having to change her clothing. So you saw it was actually a tube top. So it's not the fact that the tube top covered more than the bra did. It was just the fact that it was a bra. Do you know what I mean? Similarly, Yunjin of Le Sserafim, what a great example for this topic. She received backlash for wearing underwear, quote unquote underwear fashion. Now, she was wearing a long coat. It's not that you could really see anything. And it's not that it was necessarily more revealing than if someone was just wearing short shorts, but it was just the fact that it looked like underwear. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm gonna say that. How many times I gotta say that? So these styles, they're not inherently immodest, if that makes sense, but it's more what they represent that gained backlash. Like, you don't really see anything, but it's the type of clothing. G Idol and Super Lady, underwear fashion again, which is really interesting because if we think back to second gen, I mean, second gen was pure scandal. Second gen was K-pop shocking in and of itself. So it's interesting to see how K-pop has changed in that aspect, from literally purposely trying to be K-pop shocking to now just not. But anyways, so on top of styling, we also have the fact that having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, having a significant other, can hurt somebody's career. Maybe you can be lucky like Hyuna and Dawn, and I say lucky very loosely because I'm pretty sure they got kicked out of their company when they were outed as being boyfriend and girlfriend, or I think they came out themselves and said, hey, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. But they, stuck together for a while, and they ended up releasing music together. And a lot of K-pop fans thought that was, hope for the future, hope that idols would be able to have significant others. And hey, if you're lucky, maybe they could make music together too. But to this day, there are still people saying that that relationship ruined Dawn's career. Thinking to aespa, of Karina, aespa of Karina, thinking to Karina of aespa, who very infamously wrote a letter of apology to fans. I mean, it is what it is. K-pop is so heavily focused on idols and parasocial relationships. So I hardly think we can sit back and pretend like we're shocked. It was so interesting. I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this creator who I really admire, and they straight up said like, oh, like we're sitting down and hanging out like we're friends, but we're not. Like straight up clarifying, but we're not, because some people can be really weird. But with all that said, it doesn't take away from what Yunjin herself has done in the industry. I mean, I remember watching a TikTok of her sister. Her sister is on TikTok, and she was gushing about LE SSERAFIM having a concert in New York, how it's very sentimental for them. And is it New York or New Jersey? I'm so sorry. I don't know. Is New York? No. Whatever. Don't quiz me on my American geography. It's not that great. But she was saying that her sister is paving her own way. And I thought that was really interesting, because I'm sure that a lot of fans would agree through her music and her lyricism. And I'm talking about, you know, outside of LE SSERAFIM, her solo stuff. I know she had a song like I equals but doesn't equal doll, talking about the industry. Like, you get what I mean. I'm like dying for your approval here. I'm like, do you know what I mean? Do you get what I mean? Do you understand? Does it make sense? Okay, enough. So I mean, she can quote unquote be open still, even in LE SSERAFIM. Maybe not as open as Cat's Eye, because we have to understand. I mean, we still have to understand that this is like, she's part of a K-pop group. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I'm sure there are limitations that even Cat's Eye have, and those limitations are probably even more for a K-pop group. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can think these idols and celebrities are open and all that jazz, but there are absolutely restrictions and things they cannot talk about, that their companies would absolutely forbid them from talking about, that they contractually cannot talk about. That's just what the industry is. But I mean, there's no rule that says that because she's American and, you know, has shared her opinion about certain things, that she needs to be part of Cat's Eye. That being said, I definitely don't fault anyone for wondering. You know, it's not illegal to ponder a thought. I mean, to think, what if this idol debuted in another group? I don't think that's inherently a bad thought. I love to think about it. What if this happened? What if that happened? You think of idols who were in different companies before they joined another company. So what if they debuted in the group that they, like the company's group that was going to debut, but they changed companies? You get what I mean? If we think to Myeon of G Idol, who was in YG Entertainment and might have debuted in Blackpink. If we think to Somi, who is in JYP Entertainment and could have debuted in ITZY. She was actually set to debut in ITZY. They had their pictures taken and everything, but she ended up going solo in the Black label. Taeyong of ITZY, who was in 16, that the survival show that created Twice. So she, like, in theory, she could have debuted in Twice. NCT's Johnny, who was in SM Entertainment and debuted under SM Entertainment, but the timelines are different. He might have debuted in EXO. As Scoops of 17, similarly, who could have debuted in New East. There are even rumors that Blackpink's Jisoo could have debuted in Red Velvet, because she used to allegedly train at SM Entertainment. And the same for Wooyoung of TXT. Oh my gosh. And the same for Wooyoung of ATEEZ, who could have potentially debuted in TXT because he was a previous big hit trainee. I mean, in theory, any idol who was in any company ever, you could say, maybe they could have debuted in a different group. But I love to think about it. You know, these idols almost debuted in a different group. And the truth is, had they debuted in those groups, it wouldn't have changed anything for you. You still would have loved them. You would have been like, no, this is the group that they were meant to be in. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. But I have a question. If Cat's Eye didn't exist, would you still be saying Yunjin doesn't fit into LE SSERAFIM? Like, what makes her not fit into LE SSERAFIM? Like, I already know I already like outlined it for you guys, that a lot of people think she's outspoken, she's American. I love that she's American, but is that a crime? There's always going to be some people who think that an idol doesn't fit into a specific group. But personally, I truly think that anyone can fit into any group, because at the end of the day, the amount of choice that idols get in what they get to do or what concepts they get to do, are very likely not even up to them. You know, people praise duality in idols all the time. Oh my God, they fit this concept, they fit that concept. That is quite literally their job. They have to. Of course, I think to some extent there are companies who like seek out, you know, specific traits of people. Like, oh, you would fit into this concept that I'm looking for this group. Or, you know, I think there's a level of that, absolutely. But there's also a level of moldability that an individual would need. If we think back to watching Dream Academy, you know, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for somebody who is trainable. So even if you're not that great at singing, if you're not that great at dancing, like if you have star quality, they can work with that. But for example, when we talk about different Cat's Eye lineups, what if this person debuted instead? What if that person debuted instead? People will hit back with, but this lineup is perfect the way it is. Well, if somebody else debuted, you'd be saying the exact same thing about them, that they fit so perfectly into the group and you wouldn't want it any other way. Like you would say the exact same thing about any lineup that was given to you. So in retrospect, of course, you can say this lineup is perfect. It shouldn't be any other way. But that's only in retrospect, because you could have gotten any other lineup. You'd be saying the exact same thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the lineup isn't perfect. I think the lineup is great. I'm just saying you would have accepted somebody else too, because anyone can cook. Another example is Yuna of Islet. Unfortunately, poor thing, this is a conversation that I don't think has been like revived recently. I think people have mostly got over it. You can let me know if you're in the fandom, but when Islet first debuted, a lot of people were saying Yuna did not fit Islet's concept. In Are You Next, she did a more girl crush stage, and I remember people latching on to that and being like, no, she's better for this, or quote unquote, and I hate to say this, she looks older, so on and so forth. So when Islet had a dream concept, like a dreamy concept, you know, people were harping on her, being like, she just doesn't fit the concept. She should have, you know, she should have debuted with a Miss A type of concept. Because I believe that was the performance she did. Miss A's Good Girl, Bad Girl. Bad girl, said I'm a good girl, which is arguably a really great song. But when I watch Islet, I don't necessarily think anyone really stands out. You know, when I watch a group, I don't really notice if somebody is like, unless somebody's really, really offbeat. But I feel like I notice height differences more. But even then, you know, when it comes to height differences in K-pop, there are ways to make it less noticeable. People can wear insoles. I remember people analyzing Twice's Chewy. When she dances with the rest of Twice, she actually bends down more than everybody else, so it looks more uniform. I mean, if you really pay attention, you could see how bent her knees are in comparison to everybody else. I mean, there are ways to mitigate that, right? So even at that, I don't think height differences are really that big of an issue. But sometimes, of course, it is noticeable. But like we've mentioned before, K-pop is a business. Even if you hate the concept that you've been assigned, you just have to go with it. You got to pretend like you like it. I'm sure if Jimmy was here, he would bring up like an example of Taeyeon Taeyeon hating one of Girls' Generation concepts. But I'm sure if you looked back, I'm actually not sure, but possibly if you looked back and watched the performances or watch anything in relation to it, you wouldn't know that she hated it, right? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe she was really honest at the time too. But it just goes to show that statistically, there is no way that every single idol on earth loves every single decision that their company has to make. And we can harp on how idols sometimes have a say in what they do and what their concept is like, because I honestly don't believe that is super common. But even if they do have a say, how could a company possibly consider everyone's opinions? You know what I mean? Stop it. Like, two examples that come to mind are New Jeans and Girl Set, just because I think both groups have said that they're on the same page. I think New Jeans has said something similar, at least with like their lawsuit, you know, like they're on the same page, they know what they want. And Girl Set most recently in all of their interviews saying they're unified, they know what they want, they agree with everything, this is their authentic selves, so on and so forth. I'm not saying that groups can't be on the same page, but I do think there might be a level of, you know, maybe putting some of your personal, you know, wants and desires aside to be more unified, because there's just, I don't know, I have a hard time believing that everybody's like tiny little wants and needs are accounted for. You know, I might, if I were an idol, I might want something like very specific, and maybe that can't happen. But I think that's just something you kind of have to learn how to deal with it. And 10,000%, there are idols who have hated the songs that they've had to perform. Again, probably Taeyeon. I'm just gonna shoot it out there. Probably Taeyeon of Girls' Generation. But let me know in the comments if there are any idols that you know of who have hated the songs that they've had to perform. And imagine hating a song that you have to perform over and over and over and over again. But it is what it is. It's part of your job and you got to do it. So with all that said, I do actually have a couple of Reddit posts that I would like to read with you guys today. I thought this was so interesting because it's from 9 years ago. So such a blast from the past. And I have another one from 5 years ago and then from 2 years ago. So we really get to see in different generations what people think of this topic specifically. So idols who don't fit in their groups. What idols you don't think fit their group's general concept or in the dynamic of the group. Lovely's Miju and Crayon-Pop's Ellen are way sexier than their cute concepts. I also never thought Seungyeol fit into Infinite, but I'm not sure why. So unfortunately, I actually don't know obviously I know who Crayon-Pop is and I've heard of these groups, but I never really stand them. So let's keep on reading. Yezi doesn't fit at all whenever Fiestar does songs like Apple Pie. Her facial expressions during those song performances is pretty damn hilarious. So I was basically saying that I think anyone can fit any group. I think I'm starting to change my mind actually, because like I think anyone can fit any group because I'm probably not looking so far into it, but I'm realizing a lot of fans are like, you know, obsessed with these groups to the point that like down to the facial expression, they might notice something is a little off. So yeah, I think I'm changing my stance on that. But anyways, oh, interesting. Oh, I'm like BTS 9 years ago? I guess so, huh? I don't think Jin fits BTS's style. He's just a bit too cute and hasn't quite cracked the cool, aggressive style. Since BTS have mellowed recently, it's less obvious though. Okay. Personality wise, I'm going with Bora. She's super energetic and bubbly. Why she's probably such a great friends with Sonyeonde, while everyone else in Sistar is more dry, witty, bordering on savage, lol, and cool. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I watched too many variety shows. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. Icon Tana always looks out of place, barely got the lines, and too babyface doesn't really fit the group in my opinion. Okay. At first glance, Junior appears to be too mature and well-behaved to be a part of GOT7. There's a person named Junior in GOT7? Junior? What? Then you realize that he's well special too. I firmly believe he's the nuttiest of them all, but he's also the best actor, so no one suspects him. I suspect you, Jin-young, but you're laughing on the inside whether Bam Bam... Okay. We don't need to read that. I feel like Jaehyun doesn't really fit Block B, especially when they're doing villain concepts. I don't know, he's just too classy. Suzy and Miss A. Oh, that's that's a whole conversation in and of itself. Contrary to popular opinion, I felt this since their formation and not since Suzy was claimed to suffer from the popularity flu. I remember always feeling Suzy was dancing less technically well than the rest, and she sang well, but she didn't feel in the moment on stage. Every time I used to see BGGG stage... BGG, bad girl, good girl. I'm chilling a bad girl, said I'm a good girl. It was also kind of reinforced in Breathe to a certain extent, but she started to fit a lot better as more releases were made. I'd love to know JYP's thought process in placing Suzy and Miss A. Here's Faye and Ja, who used to be in the Plan Chinese WG, and Min, who has been training forever, and then you have Suzy, who trained 1 to 2 years, I think. I mean, her vocals were good, but it wasn't outstanding, so it felt kind of perplexing. Would have worked out though because Suzy is such a doll. Okay, so I'm coming back to my original opinion because I'm like, I think anyone can fit any group. I agree with it again because yes, there will be some fans who think, oh, this person doesn't fit. And you know, this applies all across the board. There's going to be fans who think this idol isn't talented enough to debut. This idol, you know, didn't train enough long enough. You know, we encounter this all the time. Like, what was the point of training for all this time when your dancing is inadequate, your singing is inadequate? You know, and again, I always mention the Dream Academy documentary, Popstar Academy, but I don't think the companies really care about that. Like, the companies know. The companies are well aware. They're like, you know, we can't just train a skill until, like, forever. We can't do this forever. So, you know, they're going to have to debut eventually. And, you know, they'll probably get it one day kind of, you know, thing. I think they really go for star power. That's always what somebody mentions. And I know that's another discussion, people being like, what is star quality? What is even star quality? Isn't it just being pretty? Maybe we could talk about that another day. But I'm back to my opinion. Like, yes, some people are going to criticize certain members. They don't fit the group. Maybe they're not talented enough. But ultimately, when you look at the big picture, I feel like the company doesn't care, because the big picture is what matters the most. Someone's not gonna stand you, question mark, because you're perfectly on point when you're dancing or your vocals are perfect. It's more parasocial than anything, isn't it? So you might like their personality more, you might like their visuals more. Does that make sense? I think and I'm not saying this is what I do. I love a good voice. I do. I'm just saying, I think from a company's perspective, maybe that's what it is. They're focused on the parasocial aspect. The parasocial aspect is what's going to sell things at the end of the day. So, if they're not super great at singing, if they don't like perfectly fit the group, it doesn't matter, because that's not the main focus. I don't know. You let me know what you think of that. Okay, let's move on to this post from 5 years ago. Idols who don't fit their concept. For so long, I've been frustrated with companies debuting idols and groups with concepts that don't fit their image, and most importantly, voices. Giving them lines that make them sound bad, for example, Momo from Twice, which brings them hate, or not giving them lines at all, not giving them lines at all, like in Everglow's Onda's case. It sounds easy to say, just don't debut X idol in the group, but it is better to leave a trainee who's worked hard for years in the dungeon. Their only dream is to debut and earn money like all of us do. They can't have, for example, Momo and Twice just got her dancing skills. Even though I don't know why JYP didn't make Momo a rapper and Dahyun a singer, and why J Idol doesn't incorporate some Chinese lines in their songs for Shuhwa's comfort, I think it would be fun. I think it would be a fun idea, just like Minnie's Thai intro in Queendom. There's a Thai intro in Queendom? Is there? I really don't remember that. Another thing people say is, why not choosing songs that fit all the members, which is not an easy thing to do either. My question is, why don't you let other members shine in the B-sides or in the next comeback? I'm especially bitter at the Everglow case because not all of them are great vocalists, and you can see not all of those girls were ready to debut. And I'm not sure in their abilities because they haven't shown much either. Onda and Iron especially don't fit the sound Yahoo Entertainment is forcing on Everglow. I personally love their B-sides a lot, and I think more youthful concept would suit them better. Another thing I don't get is the large amount of members. Luna is one of my favorite groups, but BBC isn't doing their talent justice because most of the members are all-rounders, and I thought without fixed positions each of the girls would be able to show their charms, but BBC pushes certain members while others are overshadowed. Where is my second Yunjin solo? Where is my main vocal hustle? Where is Cherry and all of her talents? I get that So What fitted some members more than others, and I have to wait for the next comeback to judge completely BBC's methods, but BB getting one line in Hey in the title and a full... I'm so sorry. The text is so small. That didn't make it better. Hey in the title and a full spitting fire rap in the B-side isn't serious to me. If you're not going to put the members in fixed positions, better use their full potential because we know what their capability. My gosh. A lot of companies have terrible management and distributing lines, etc. All we can do as fans is not hating the idols for something that is purely the company's fault. Whether an idol gets more or less lines is not something we can change, no matter how important the line distribution is for certain idols' careers. So let's see some people's suggestions. Jisoo, she's grown into the BP concept, but I always wonder how she would look in something like Red Velvet. I think she would fit so well. Leah from ITZY, she could really benefit a lot being in a vocal group instead of a dancing one. And adding on to your third paragraph, girl, how do I agree? Why is there so little experimentation in B-sides in some groups? Why not mix things around? Line distribution, vocal duties, rap duties. What's the point of having a big group with different strengths if you don't even explore them in B-sides that most people don't listen? That's sad. I mean, it's true for me, but that's sad. Mina, Taeyong, Jonghyun, and Momo really don't fit the cute concept, and I can kind of tell that Taeyong looks the most obvious in disliking their music. I can see her going for indie sound like Yin, Heartfelt. That was 5 years ago, and she just had her solo now. I don't know what it sounds like, but I feel like her vibe is quite indie, isn't it? So this person mentions Shuha from G Idol. If you ask me, she does need a little bit of training compared to the other girls, but she stands out talent-wise compared to them. I could also see Shuha in a cuter concept. And then we have this post from 2 years ago, K-pop idols who would fit well into other groups. So let's see. Dahyun seems she'd fit so well in Twice to the point where it makes me forget she's a member of New Jeans. What? I don't get the inside joke, but okay. Jihoon from Monsta X in Block B would work perfectly. Inche in New Jeans. Seolyun from NMIXX in IVE. Uki in Blackpink. Okay, Wooyoung into Stray Kids, Mingi into P1 Harmony, San into Monsta X, IN into ENHYPEN. If there wasn't such an age gap, Han into Psychers would be so much fun. Sakura into 50/50, Inche into New Jeans, Yunjin into NMIXX. Okay, so of course you can let me know. Should you? Is that controversial to ask? What are your K-pop what ifs? Just for funsies, you're not saying that the idol doesn't fit in their group or that you think they don't want to be in their group. It's just for funsies. What are your K-pop what ifs in this context? But we do have 2 more posts to read out. Idols doing cute concepts when they're adults. I saw some people talking about how we can't expect Twice to do cute concepts anymore because they're now all in their mid-20s to late 20s. Right now, I fully understand if it's the Twice members' decision, but does doing cute concepts necessarily mean singing about high school crush, puppy love? I'd be interested in knowing if anyone has examples of adult idols, especially those who are around 25 plus, successfully pulling off a cute concept without invoking high school. I think Love Aid by VV's counts. The members were around 24 to 25 during this era. There's no school uniform stuff to be found, no school settings, just a bunch of young adult women who work at some kind of food truck. Yet I think there's this definitely a cute concept with all the super bright colors, cutesy singing and rap, and the big smiley balloon throughout the music video. Okay, so this one isn't really K-pop, and the members are definitely on the younger side of adult, 19 to 23, but there's this P-pop, Philippine pop idol group that just had their comeback recently. It's super cute and bright, but it doesn't put them in a high school setting or anything like that in the music video, promotional photos, stages, or the lyrics. It's just a bunch of young adult women singing about love. If anything, the lyrics seem to be cutesy take on situationship. So anyways, yeah, does anyone know any more examples of adult idols pulling off cute concepts without the music videos, whatever, making them act like they're in high school? I'm sure it's possible. People still fall in love, have crushes, etc. when they graduate from high school and become legal adults. Jessica's Beep Beep. I love that song so much. Beep Beep all the way across the room. But is that like K-pop cutesy? I feel it was like a vibey song, but not, I don't know. I don't remember the music video, but it's not like what it's no like, you know, Girls' Day Twinkle Twinkle or like, I don't know, Twice's early stuff. Do you know what I mean? Taeyeon's Weekend, again, I feel like that was like more vibey. Like it's cute vibey, but not like and whatever. So I'm not gonna lie, I did think this would talk about like, I thought this would touch more on, you know, grown idols forced to do cute concepts and people discussing that. I remember Irene was at the forefront of this conversation once, wasn't she? Like, oh, she's in Red Velvet and doing certain concepts. I can't fully remember though, because when was the last time I don't remember. I retract what I said. I have this memory of Chocolat, who were the quote-unquote first biracial K-pop group. Only 3 of their members were biracial, but they, you know, did a cutesy-ish concept for their debut. I remember, I don't know why I remember this specifically. I remember reading like a blog post about them, and this person was basically saying they are children acting like they're older, acting like they're younger with aegyo. I was like, whoa, like aegyoception, cute conceptception. Anyways, this one seems to be more in line with what we're looking into. So is there an idol who you could tell didn't like a concept their group was doing? Listen, it's K-pop. There have been cringe concepts, music videos, outfits, dances, hairstyles, etc. But it seems like idols generally do a good job of not showing any contempt they may have. Has there been a time where either an idol has actively expressed disinterest, contempt, or has given you an impression they might not like the group's current concept? Okay. The video of NCT 127 hearing Sticker for the first time comes to mind. That's it, like, exactly. There's just no way, especially if something is like more experimental. There's just no, and especially if your group has like 80 members, there's no way everybody's going to be in accordance without putting some of their personal thoughts aside. Of course Taeyeon is here. Music is so magical. I love how it can take you to another place. For example, G is playing in this room, so now I'm going to a different room. I don't know if she actually said that, but I wouldn't put it past her. That's a fake quote though. It's true to her nature. My first thought was EXO and Wolf, but that's kind of kicking a dead horse at this point. Oh, did they not like the iconic Wolf? I want like concrete evidence, like an idol saying they hated a concept though. But yeah, I reckon that is basically it for this conversation. I know if I were an idol, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I can imagine there's a lot of heartbreak when it comes to these things. And I'm not talking about idol mistreatment. We know about this stuff already, but like when it comes to your art, especially when you're in a group, maybe if you're a solo artist, you know, you can control things better, but as a group you really have to take a step back and consider everybody's perspectives and, you know, of course what the company wants for you. So I can imagine, you know, wanting a specific line in a song, but you know the company is giving it to somebody else, or you know, wanting an iconic part of a dance but the company gives it to somebody else. Like you really have to, you know, be okay with not getting what you want. So of course, let me know your thoughts on the subject. There's unfortunately no doggy cam because my dogs are glued to my mom, who of course just had a heart attack. It has been quite the week. We missed an episode last week because, well, I don't know if it's because, I don't know. Time isn't real, but my mommy had a heart attack. Yeah, so I'll tell you a little, let me tell you the story a little bit, okay? So she had chest pains, severe chest pains, and her arm hurt, and like other things that we don't need to get too much into detail. So I call an ambulance for her and she goes to the hospital. She waits 12 hours to see a doctor and gets sent home with a diagnosis of gastritis and a Mallory Weiss tear. The next day she's still in so much pain and she does not want to go back to the hospital because she had to wait like 12 hours just to see a doctor, and she doesn't want to go through that again. Like it was so uncomfortable. She was in so much pain, like just sitting on an uncomfortable hospital chair, even on the floor at times, because she was like, you know, in the whatever. So we go and make an emergency appointment with the doctor, and the doctor just prescribes pain medication. So a month later, and keep in mind, all this time she's like clutching her chest. She's in so much pain, and she's joking about her fake heart attack because we're like, oh, it's just gastritis. Like, yes, your chest hurts because your stomach hurts. And I mean, I guess that kind of could make sense, but I digress. The chest pains come back full throttle. Like she's not okay. So she's not okay, and she doesn't want to go back to the hospital because again, she doesn't want to wait 12 hours just to get sent home. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call the ambulance for you, and they'll just check if it's your heart, because I mean it sounds concerning, right? Your arm hurts and your chest hurts. Turns out it was a heart attack. So yeah. She's recovering. She's doing well. She's back home. But yeah, there's just been a lot going on. I definitely wasn't, I don't know. What was I expecting? Not much. I really thought it was gastritis, and I'm really concerned how all of that unfolded. But so it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So give her some good energy, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining. Bye.